Hi there, Cosmo family. My name is Yahlial, and today, apart from the return of Neptune retrograde to Pisces, today is October 22nd, I wanted to add something about that aspect. And some people could have this sensation of being like floating a little bit, like ungrounded. I don't know if I'm inventing this word, distracted too, especially if Neptune is touching, certain planets in your natal chart, as it is happening to me. It is in a square with Neptune, so this could be a rough day in terms of communication, but I'm going to try. And I want to talk about other transit that is pretty active today, and is the first square, the perfectioning of the first square between Jupiter in Cancer and Chiron retrograde in Aries. We truly have been feeling this transit the whole month of October, and we are going to have a second one in December. This is going to happen with both of them retrograde, because in November Jupiter starts its retrogradation, and then we are going to have a third one in 2026 in July. That is going to be given with Chiron in the degree 0 of Taurus and Jupiter in the degree 0 of Leo. And of course, both of them have different ways of expressing themselves in these signs, but all the tensions are connected. And this indicates that these squares that are inviting us to an expansion that is touching certain points of pain or insecurities with which we need to deal, to face. The first two ones are given in cardinal energy, so they are setting like very important bases in our inner world, emotional space, in how to learn to nourish ourselves or giving what we need. This is something very linked with Jupiter and Cancer, so we can be seen from what the soul came here to incarnate in its identity, from having the courage to open paths that weren't transited before, and not from the patterns or conditionings that are many times leading us to give or to sustain other people emotionally, but from these places that are not actually nourishing, nor for oneself and not for the others. So this is Chiron, this expression. The most simple example that I gave before, it is that if I am offering, this emotional contention from this maternal or paternal place to someone that is in a phase of the path that really needs to learn how to regulate himself or herself alone, needs to learn to deal with his or her emotions and not to be rescued from what they are feeling. We are turning the other person into a child. And eventually we could be feeling that is demanding a lot of energy. Therefore, resentment appears, because behind that emotional sustain that we are offering, there is a known need that is projected on the other. Many times we want to repair in other people what we need to attend in ourselves. Other times we want validation of who we are by giving unconsciously, so other people can do that. But of course, that when a person is not being able to develop himself or herself in his or her emotional world, and recognizing what he or she needs and to give that to himself or herself, it is very, very difficult to give that to the outside. Or the person is going to create imbalances and is going to give too much to the outside, so avoids to take a look in their inner side, his or her pain, his or her imbalances, and that creates a circuit of dependencies and roles that we assume that later are going to generate anger, because we are not respecting what we truly need. So all of this process that we are going to experiment October and December, it is in order that when they are having the rencounter, of the third tension in the degree 0, which is an initiatic degree in the fixed signs Taurus and Leo, there could happen this growth in terms of something pretty new, creative talents, expression of our light, authenticity, but they are also going to face us with things linked with value, our relationship with resources, both material and immaterial. And beyond that, in that last tension, also Pluto and Aquarius will participate. So fixed tensions could create many resistances, because precisely these signs are the ones that where energy is accumulated. In Taurus, the earth is accumulated, so we can consolidate. In Leo, the light is accumulated, so we can radiate, so we can share. In Aquarius, Aquarius is air, so what Aquarius does is to focus the energy, the mental energy, in causes that in its high vibration that can promote evolution, and changes that can break with a previous order. But also has, its aspects of shadow. And we are going to talk about that later, actually, because we have to talk about the entrance of Chiron to Taurus, of Jupiter to Leo, and that fixed T-square that they are going to create in July of 2026. So more than anything, I wanted to remind you that the tension of this week could awaken a lot, like the anger or the irritability, because, well, that is Chiron Aries many times. It's like something, pushing certain buttons in particular, and the tendency to react. Also, the sun is right now in a square with Pluto and Aquarius, so, well, I'm going to expand on that later. But also, sadness and melancholy for past situations could be manifested, because that is more linked with Jupiter in Cancer. So it is very important to open ourselves to a higher sense when there is a excessive focus in something that happened before, and that is preventing us from focusing on the present, on what we need to approach right now, especially when we are polarizing ourselves. This means that when we are looking at the past, like wanting to return to the past, and if things of the past are not participating of this present moment, it is because it has a purpose. But beyond that, we could see them as if they were better times, and we could even like annul or repress other things that weren't that positive of those situations. And those things happen because we are in rejection of what we are experimenting right now. And also could happen on the contrary, like all the focus on the pain and the suffering that we have experimented, and it is super valid, whatever thing you are feeling. But in occasions, the mind is using that to create obstacles. It is like, I did all of these things, I have gone through all of this, and I don't want to do anything else, because truly there is a fear of experimenting pain again. The thing is that we cannot live with fear of experimenting an emotion, because it is part of the experience to live them. But this doesn't mean that we necessarily have to repeat an experience of the past. But it is precisely not from not taking decisions from fear what leads us to the transcendence. It is being present. It is being present with whatever thing we are going through right now, and choosing what nourishes us and set this basis of growth, while we are giving to ourselves this emotional stability, while we transit the changes, or we allow other people to offer help, to the ones that are in capacity to do so. Because, for some people, it could be the opposite that from what I was commenting before. It could be this incapacity of receiving help, emotional support, or believing, people that believe that they have to do everything alone. So each one of us is going to identify their own tendencies. On the other side, to close this video, these tensions could be linked with having to make decisions that are facing us with a fear or an insecurity to make certain projects to grow, or also could be like being in a defensive state, because we are feeling that someone else is attacking something with which I am feeling very identified, like my beliefs, my ideals, my country, my way of being, my people, whatever thing. So it is very important to make this registration, because other people could also be projecting, and putting us outside their own imbalances in an unconscious way. But also we could be excessively in this defensive state from a very sensitive space that impulses conflict. And well, we have to be very honest with ourselves to recognize, okay, here my reaction wasn't right. Here I need to put a boundary in the face of this behavior, or not putting energy right there to add, more fire to the conflict. Or in spaces where this could be nourishing, not all the cases, but in spaces that this could be nourishing, being vulnerable, like this thing hurts, this thing that happens in here activates that insecurity, this insecurity or the anger. So in order to see all of this and to recognize all of this, there is a quality of introspection that is pretty necessary to just identify and communicate. So thank you everyone, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.